Good evening. My name is Dominique McGee, and I am the Woman of Gold. And today, for our Wives Who Work series, I have a very, very special guest. Her name is Kristen Harris. Hey, Kristen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So I'm gonna read a little bio about her before we jump into our interview. Okay, so Kristen subscribes to the notion that every woman is full of potential and purpose, but many lack the knowledge on how to get everything out that is inside of them. Kristen helps to draw it out by equipping them with the tools they need to get unstuck. As a spiritual midwife, Kristen helps women realize that they are pregnant with purpose and it will push past their pain to deliver everything that God has promised them. Under her personal brand, KRH Enterprises, she inspires a multitude of women through writing and speaking platforms. Her programs, the Birthing Plan Program and the Scribe Tribe, have been extremely successful at helping women birth their business ideas and fulfill their dreams of publishing books. Most recently, Kristen traveled internationally on the Tom Joyner's Fantastic Voyage, sharing the Scribe Tribe with novice writers. And something else that I want to mention about Kristen is that she is a wife, of course, obviously, and she has three beautiful daughters. She has written 6 books, including her most recent, God Put Me Up on Game. And she is, correct me if I'm wrong, the co-owner of the Wives Hive.
Yeah, so I am the co-host of the Wives Talk. We do run the Wives Hive. That's like our tribe. That's where we, do all the juicy stuff. But the brand is the Wives Talk. And so we are both media personalities, myself and Delisa New Williams with the Wives Talk.
Yeah, and for you wives who are not a part of the Wives Hive, get into it, cause I'm in it, and I absolutely love the transparency and the realness that comes from the wives. It's a space for wives to just open up and be real and about everyday things that happen in the lives of us wives.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's an awesome bio. I am a purpose pusher myself. So when I see those words, push purpose, pregnant with purpose, I love it. I absolutely love it. Um, so what inspired you to be an entrepreneur?
Well, let me just say this. I have been an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember, even before I knew what an entrepreneur was. I
Hmm.
like to tell people that I was slinging candy in school, in grammar school, elementary school. By high school, I was writing love notes, and the boys would buy them from me to give them to the girls for Valentine's Day or something. College, I've always been a great writer. So, college, I was writing term papers for athletes because they needed good grades to stay in school. Don't tell anybody that, but that's what I was doing. And that was very lucrative. And by the time I got out of college, started my first official business with my best friend. We started an online shoe store, Feet of Faith. And so I would have to say that I don't really know I can't really pinpoint a point of inspiration because I just feel like it's just something that is in me. And so if I have to say that anything inspires me, it's just the fact that I choose to use the gifts that God has given me. Like that's my inspiration, knowing that I'm living life on purpose every single day.
Okay. So when you were younger at that age, did you even understand the concept of entrepreneurship? You
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying. It's just in me. And when I got out of college, I went to work full time. I actually have a bachelor's in civil engineering. Many people do not know that, but I worked as an engineer for a total of 8 years off and on. 5 years at my first job, took a break and went back for 2.5, almost 3 years at another job. And I just could never find my footing in that place because that's not, God didn't create me to be an engineer. Now I've used that engineering degree. I tell people now I'm over here engineering books and engineering other things, but I was born to create jobs, not to work them.
Okay. So how has entrepreneurship helped you and your family spiritually and tangibly?
Well, spiritually, I'll start there. Entrepreneurship has really catapulted our faith. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be on a serious faith journey. There's going to be the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows, and you have to be able to trust God through all of that. The other thing is that I'm creating something that I've never seen created before. I don't have entrepreneurs in my family. I don't have a blueprint for success, and so I literally have to lean into God for for direction, for steps. Like, God, what is it that you want me to do with this thing, and where should I be going with it? Who should I be serving? And so for my family, that has really been pivotal because they've seen just the building, the slow building process, and they've been a part of that. Tangibly, I would say it has definitely opened up doors and created a lot of opportunities and allow us to come into the spaces of some really influential and important people, and some awesome people all around. And not just for me, my daughter, my second oldest daughter, my 11-year-old, she has written and published her own book, and she has traveled around and spoken and been introduced to opportunities. So I think one of the tangible things has been to see me walk as an entrepreneur has really helped even my children to blossom into their purpose and to go out and grab those opportunities.
Yeah, awesome. What really resonated with me when you said that entrepreneurship is a faith walk. Like, it certainly is. Like, when God calls you to do something, and it's not like you can't see it, but God called you to do that. It's definitely faith. It's definitely
Yeah.
like, okay, God, I definitely have to just step out and trust you, because I have no idea, what's ahead of me. I know what you told me. I know what the finished product is gonna be, but that in between is definitely a faith move.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Absolutely. I heard TD Jakes say once that the most difficult part for a visionary is, the vision, and then all of that time in between. And that's very difficult because you know what God showed you, but you also know the reality of your present state. And so to be able to, it's like, okay, God, like you said, how do I get there? How am I going to move from this point to what you showed me? And I think for me, the other part of the spiritual piece has really been just really trusting God to put this thing together. Sometimes I feel like, I don't have something to grab a hold to because I don't see anything like what he has called me to create. And because I don't see that thing, sometimes I get frustrated. I'm like, and I'm just trying to grab on to something because I want to be able to emulate something. And God is like, no, I'm doing a new thing. And you have to be okay with that. And so, again, it has really caused me to really pray like I have never prayed before. I don't think I prayed this much in life. But being on this journey, I have to go to him daily. And even yesterday, it was a very frustrating day for me yesterday, business-wise. And I was just like, God, man, I need you, because this is more than a notion. And so I thank God for that guidance on this journey.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So, we're married. So,
Mm-hmm.
in what ways do you think we can encourage our spouses to continue to support us?
Well, let me just say this. Excuse me. I do think that support comes in so many different ways. And I think sometimes depending on not just our spouse, but wherever it's coming from, we tend to lump support all in one category. So if it's our friends, we don't think they support us if they're not buying our products, or they're not supporting us if they're not sharing our stuff on social media. But it's so many levels to support. There's spiritual support, because if you are praying for me, I mean, that's probably one of the best things you can do for me. If you're praying for me, if you're fasting with me, you're like, I want to see this thing through. If you're physically supporting me, you're showing up, you're doing what needs to be done. If you're financially supporting me, hey, that's always good. So I think when it comes to our spouses, we have to, be careful that we're not discounting what support they're giving. Because I know with me personally, I would speak all over the place, and then I would feel like my husband wasn't being supportive because he was not at every single event. Well, he can't support me like that, because he's supporting this dream because he has 2 jobs. So he has to support the family financially. And so we have to sometimes shift the perspective, because I was being very selfish in thinking that I needed him every single place that I went. And he's like, well, do you want me to support your dream and support a roof over our head? Or do you want me to be there and we're homeless? And so we have to be careful. But one thing that I've really learned on this process is that if you do have a spouse who may not be in full support of what you're doing, especially when you're dealing with men, they need to feel like they're needed. And so if you find ways to include them in what you're doing, find ways to get their input. Men love to give you a suggestion. They love to tell you how to do something. And so if you find ways to include them and incorporate them, then they feel like it's not just your dream. It's not just your vision. It's ours. And I'm adding something to it. And that's a really great way to get them involved and to get them on board with supporting whatever it is you're trying to build.
Wow. Wow. That was definitely a slap on the wrist for me. You just gave me a whole other perspective of support from not just spouses, but also your friends. Because sometimes I'm sitting here like, okay, nobody is supporting me. Nobody is sharing my stuff. Nobody is reading my blogs. But for both spouses and friends, like there's different areas of support.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
what we have to realize is that just because she's my friend or he's my spouse, it doesn't mean that what I have to offer is for them. Be for my friends. I don't think my husband has read any of my books. Okay. But I can't be mad at that, because I write books for women. I mean, it is what it is. And so at one point that used to be a point of contention for us. It used to be frustrating for me. But again, I've learned that my support comes in so many other ways. My support comes when I'm like yesterday, I was having a really bad day. I mean, even to the point of tears. And my husband came alongside me. He encouraged me and he prayed for me. That's the type of support that I need to continue on this journey.
That's real. So your first time sharing your vision with your spouse, what was that like? When you brought it to him, were you excited? Were you anxious? Were you nervous? If you can think back to that, how were you feeling?
Well, let me say this. You got to know that I am a visionary. And so the thing about visionaries is that we get all type of visions. So I've come to my husband with several different ideas, and all of them that I've come to him with, I have done. So I am a jumper. I don't mind. And so I had that online shoe store. We dissolved that after about maybe 2.5 years, because we realized we like to buy the shoes or wear the shoes more than we like to try to sell them. So we dissolved that business. After that, I had a stint in event planning. After that, I did go back to work. And after I lost my job, I started Pizzazz Plus, which was my sweet treats company. And that was probably, to date, not coming into what we're doing now, but to anything that I had worked on up until that point, Pizzazz was the most successful venture. And so it was like everything was a promotion up. Like each round went higher and higher. And then of course we get into this, writing books, all of that. So I've gone to my husband. Oh, I'm the one that got away. I had a whole t-shirt line and brand with visions, okay, and ideas. And I'm always very excited. I can't say I'm ever really, well, I wasn't nervous in the beginning, but as I started to take different ideas to him, I'm like, okay, now I'm nervous because this man is going to think, what does she want to do now? You know, and and I have to be honest, at some point he did have that feeling, but I've had to pray for my husband to understand how God has wired me. Like, I'm not going to just be doing one thing. One quote that I read probably about 2 or 3 years ago, that Jennifer Lopez, she said, J-Lo, she said, I don't have to be one thing, because people wanted to try to put her in the box. They're like, well, you know, you were dancing, singing, acting, like you're just doing, you're all over the place. You like, you know, you have apparel. She said, but I don't have to be one thing. And that's how I feel. So I'm very happy and blessed that I was able to really pray for my husband, and God was able to change his perspective and see that now this is a multifaceted woman, and it's very likely that she'll be shifting soon. But again, everything is a stair step to the next level. Everything builds on top of each other, and every round goes higher and higher. So I would have to say, I'm always extremely excited, like I said, but there have been times that I have been nervous to go to him, because I just don't know how he's going to receive it, knowing all of the other things that I have put my hands to. But I would have to add this caveat that everything that I have done has been successful. So it's kind of like, you know, he probably wants to say, oh my good, you know, you switching lanes. But I'm like, look, when God moves, I move just like that. And so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I know for myself, like when I am a creative, and so like ideas just pop in my head like popcorn. Like sometimes it happens in my sleep, and when I wake up and I'm just like, and I try to piece that back together, then I have to be like, okay, does this really make sense? But anyway, like they just come, and sometimes because of that, I've been nervous to go to my husband and be like, hey, so I have this other idea. But, you know, to my surprise, like every time I've done that, he's been, oh, okay, yeah, we can do that, you know? So yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You know, I think, oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was gonna say, I think that with me, because I'm just like you, I'm an idea factory. And so stuff will just be coming and coming and coming. I think I've learned now how to filter out what needs to be shared and what doesn't. So I'll write everything down in my notebook, because I keep a notebook of ideas. And I can come back, and if I'm ever bored and I want to start something or I need something to do, I can come back to that book of ideas. But I've learned how to kind of filter out, test them, pray about them. Is this something that needs to be pursued in this moment? Because everything that comes to me is not for today. It's not for tomorrow. Some things are for later on down the line. And I think I know the one that I mentioned in specific was I'm the one that got away. I had a whole t-shirt and apparel line for that brand. And while it was very successful, the timing on that was off. I don't think God gave me that for when I put it out. That was something that should have come a little later. And so it's just really it's also a timing thing, knowing when you should share and when you shouldn't.
Okay, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna write down my stuff. And I'm gonna pray about it. I'm gonna pray about it before I mention it. Okay. So how do you specifically navigate marriage, entrepreneurship, marriage, and mommyhood?
Ooh, how do I navigate, girl? So it's a real rugged terrain. Okay. I think that one of the biggest things for me has been setting boundaries, because I can be a
Mhm.
workaholic. And it wasn't clear to me until they'll have those little surveys, those little tests on maybe Facebook or something, and they'll say ask your child all of these questions and see what they say. And so I did one of those one day, and all it's the one of the questions was, what is mommy's favorite thing to do? I have three girls, and at the time my youngest may have been like 3 or 4. But
Mhm.
every person besides my youngest child, because she said my favorite thing to do was to clean her room. But my older 2 kids said my favorite thing to do was to work. And for me, that was kind of like, I love the work I do, but I don't ever want them to feel like that's my favorite thing in the world to do. And so I really had to step back and set up very clear boundaries. Like I don't take a lot of phone calls. I don't do business in the evenings, because I realize that that's the time I have to spend with my kids. That's the time that I have to help with homework. I still want to be that mother. I want to help with homework. I want to cook dinner. I don't necessarily want to clean, but those are all things that have to happen. And so then when it comes to my husband, again, there's boundaries with the kids, because my children have to be asleep at a certain time. They have to be in their bed, because now I need adult time. I need to be able to talk to my husband without the interruption of children. And so I really try to create these boundaries within every area of my life. Does it always be is it always as clear cut as I would like it? No. But at least with some type of boundaries in place, I'm able to try to keep things as much in place as possible.
Mm, yeah, yeah, that's real because I even have to tell myself, okay, this what I'm doing right now, I'm gonna put 100% in it. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna, for example, when it comes down to my child, I have to say, okay, I'm gonna put 100% of time into my child. I'm not gonna stop playing with her so that I can, jump on my computer. And
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that does happen, but for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, you have to really be disciplined, and you have to say,
Yeah.
like, I'm like, this is what I'm doing right now. This is
Mm-hmm.
hubby time. This is child time. This is
Mm-hmm.
work. You
Yeah.
really have to you have to set boundaries.
You absolutely do. And it can be really difficult at some moments, because like you said, sometimes you do have to switch lanes, and you just
Yeah.
have to be able to exercise wisdom to know when that is permissible. I think the other thing that has really worked for me, which is kind of on the other spectrum of that discipline, is giving myself some grace and allowing myself to have some flexibility,
Mm,
because there are going to be those times when I cannot do X, Y, and Z, or I can't be committed to the lane that I'm supposed to be in, and I have to shift a little bit. And most of the time, it's because I'm working on a big project. Like right now, we're about to start a new birthing plan, and that takes a lot out of me, creating that program, making sure it's tight. And so right now, the children and the husband is, it's lacking a little bit, and they understand that it's just for a moment, because she's doing something, and so it's just a sacrifice for this moment. And again, it goes back to your husband and support. If you keep people aware, everything is about communication. If they understand what's happening in your work life, then there'll be more understanding, as opposed to you just shutting everyone out, closing the door, going in your office, doing what you do, and no one has any idea, what, this is just for a moment. This is about to launch on the 22nd. And once this launches and I get this all squared away, we can go back to normal. And so just setting up those expectations helps a lot too.
mm. Okay. Um. So, what would you say to the woman who is not yet married, who says, like, no, I want to have an established business before I have a husband, before I have children. I know I don't have time for that right now. What would be your response to her?
Well, first I would say you need to figure out what what is the order that God wants for your life? That's number one. Really seek him, because you want to line your plans up with his. But two, if she's saying that because she thinks that she can't go secure her bag and raise up a family, I would tell her that that is completely false. Now, being realistic, although it is a very flawed statement, having a family will slow you down. And we have to be honest about that. When I see single women who are not killing it in their business, I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Because if I didn't have a husband and I did not have any kids, I would be all over the place. Like there would be no stopping me. But the reality is I do have a husband and I do have 3 children, and I have 3 very active children who have a lot going on in their own lives. And so it does slow me down a bit. It doesn't stop me. And so you have to learn how to work around the situation that you have. But I'm going to be honest, I would not have done this any other way, because I get excited because my children get to see something that is being constructed from the ground up. They get to see all of the pieces. They get to see the blood, sweat, and the tears. I would not, did I go away? Oh, I'm sorry. I would not have wanted them to be born into the empire. Like, I want you to see this so that you can know that anything is possible. And then even with my husband, I tell him all the time, and I tell other couples this, it's nothing like coming up together. It's nothing like that. It's like, because you appreciate the success so much more, because you know what the struggle looks like. You know what it looks like when you were up late at night trying to put stuff together and building this thing. And then when to get to the success, and you don't have to worry about being up late at night because you got people who got people who got people who are doing this for you. That just makes the success so much sweeter. So it does slow you down, but it does not stop you. And I am a living testimony of it not stopping me. Like, me having a family and children has not stopped me from pursuing any goals. It may have taken me just a little bit longer, or I may have had to deviate from my plan or alter the way that I went towards that goal, but it didn't stop me. It didn't deter me at all. So I would say to her, your dreams are still very much attainable. You just have to make accommodations for your family life.
Mm-hmm. And then too, like, you don't know who God has for you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that person, maybe that husband is what God is going to use to push you,
Yeah.
towards your destiny. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
how I feel about it. Okay. So, what advice do you have for us wives who work, meaning entrepreneurship, or in general? What advice?
I think I would say to the wives who work, to any wife really, learn how to be authentically who you are in your marriage while still learning to grow and change. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but we have to really learn. Like, I can't be anyone but Kristen. And there's some things about me that are true to who I am. My friends and my family, they call me extra. They think I'm so over the top. Everything I do is just like, just big production, and I'm extra and over the top. That's who I am in my marriage. But if that ever causes some like constant conflict in my marriage, in my home with my husband, then I have to figure out how to change, how to modify my behavior so that it's not offensive. It doesn't mean that I'm changing the makeup of who I am, but it's figuring out what about this is a point of irritation. And I think that in marriage, and again, I'm just giving information for all wives. I think that in marriage, we we never seem to think about two becoming one, like in a natural sense. Let me see. I think, okay, I have a glass right here. So it's like, I got this bottle of water and I got this bottle of water. This is me. This is my husband. So when we come together, it's water in here and it's water in here. If I try to pour this water in here, this would overflow because there's already something in here. And that's the two becoming one, but the overflow is the stuff that has to come off of each one of us. And we both come to marriage thinking that I'm good because this is who I've been for 30 years. He's like, no, I'm good because this has worked for me and my family and my friends for the last 30 years. So you need to change. And that's where the compromise comes in, is learning that we can't bring all of this into our marriage. Some of this is going to have to fall off. And we have to determine which of me is going to fall off. And he has to determine which of him is going to fall off so that we can come together and fit perfectly. And so as the wife, I would tell you that while you're staying true to yourself, don't lose your marriage. Because there is some stuff on you that can come off and that needs to come off. And if you really seek God and, really allow him to let you see you the way that he sees you, then you'll be able to see those things that, okay, maybe this doesn't need to go with my marriage. And I'm willing to bet some of those things are even characteristics and traits and just different things that you're doing even in your business that are detrimental to your business. One of my big things that I had to learn was time management. That irritates my husband to no end because I'll be late for everything. Okay, because much to realize even that it was destroying my business because as an entrepreneur, your time, you have to be very disciplined with how you spend your time. Yeah. And so again, if we really take a look at those things, I'm sure there's room for improvement. So don't be resistant to the change. Don't be resistant to the growth.
Wow. That is some powerful advice. You know what, Kristen, thank you so much for just allowing me to interview you for Wives Who Work. I absolutely appreciate this interview, and honestly, today was a tough day for me, and I almost was like, I'm gonna reschedule.
No, you can't do that. You got to push through because that's how it's always going to be. Let me just encourage you. I don't know how many of these you have done or how many you have scheduled, but let me just encourage you. Every day that you get ready to do this is going to be a very rough day. Yesterday, like I said, I had a very rough day, but I also had a live video schedule. I do my author's tea where I sit down with the authors. And I actually interviewed Delisa, my co-host, yesterday about her book. And her book is really about healing. And she really gave some profound steps to get to your healing. But that's why my day was so messed up. Because if the enemy can get me off my square, and then I'm like, forget it, I don't even want to do this, then she can't come on and share what she's going to share, and somebody can't be healed and somebody's life can't be changed. And so it's all about being obedient because so many people are waiting for Dominique to do what Dominique is called to do. So we have to be mindful of that. Like, even when we're having a rough day, realize that it's all opposition because the kingdom of darkness knows what we're trying to do. So definitely there's going to be an attack launch. But then number two, it's so much bigger than us. And somebody is waiting on me to get in position to do the thing that God has called me to do so that they can get in position and do the thing that God has called them to do.
Amen. Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate you for having me. This was fun. Yeah. I love to run my mouth, so I get excited about this stuff and stuff.
Yeah. So, to all those who are watching, I have all of Kristen's information linked in the video, linked at the bottom of the video. for you guys. And also want to remind you to join the Woman of Go community. There you will receive new updates, exclusives, discounts on products and events and things like that. So join the Woman to Go community. Kristen, did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
No, just come find me. I love to chat. I'm very social, so find me on social media, whatever. Get my latest book. I thought, oh, I do have it. It's right here. This is God Put Me Up on Game. Go get this book. There's so much amazing game in this book, and it's not what you expect. Trust me. Every single person who has read this book is like, I didn't know what to expect, and this was not it. But it really helped me. So go and get it and get put up on all the good game that God gave me to give to you.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you later.
All right. Bye.